Hey everyone. Today I actually wanted to go into something that a lot of newer players are going to be asking about, that I have seen asking about. It's where do you start your game as far as getting into Giants? Because most people, once they're ready to start looking at Karos, understand that Giants B10 is generally speaking the first dungeon you're going to try to clear. And there's a couple of reasons for that. First off, it has some of the best starting runes. This is going to be where you get your Fatal sets, your Despair sets, Energy, Blade, Swift, and specifically Swift is going to be one of the big ones for you to start farming right away. So the other reason for that is that Dragon's Lair has a higher level difficulty. As you look, it's about 10 levels higher in each case, B10 being 65, B10 in Dragons being 75. Even starting at the beginning, B1 being 12, B1 being 20. So about 8 there. But it's always going to be higher, and Necropolis has advanced techniques in it, requiring a decent choice of monsters, as well as good runes to be able to progress far enough in it. So, Giants is generally going to be where you start off, and so most people ask themselves, like, hey, so what monsters do I need? What do I need to shoot for runes? So there is 3 sections I'm going to cover this on. One is, what is the base set that anyone can try to go for in order to farm Giants B10? 2, the second section is going to be what are some alternate monsters I could take a look at using in B10 on a B10 team, either to start or switching over as you start to get more advanced. And 3, what should my runes look like when I go to face the Giants B10 boss? So I'm thinking about doing these subjects in kind of an expanded view at a later time, but for today I just want to do a quick rundown of what you can do to get ready for Giants B10. So Phase 1. What do you use for your initial starting Giants B10 team? So the recommended group to farm for is this right here. So Bernard can be farmed out of Timor Desert. Megan is a wind pixie that can simply be gotten out of any unknown scroll. You'll see her pop out eventually pretty easily. Bella and Darian are the Inagami and Vagabond. Both have a secret dungeon on the light day. What I recommend as a strategy for sniping those is sit in a popular channel where you have people popping those secret dungeons all day, and send them a friend request. Don't say anything in chat because they very rarely pay attention to that. I know if I ever do it, I don't even bother checking chat. I don't worry about it. If someone sends me a friend request, I go ahead and accept them, let them get their farming done, and taken care of. That's what I did personally. You can do something similar. The other option that I recommend is jumping from channel to channel to channel, starting at 100, work your way all the way to 150, asking for secret dungeons for either Vagabond or Inagami on Sundays. And like I said, that's a lot of work, not always going to work for you. But you can give it a shot, that might work as well. The hardest monster to get is going to be Veramos. Veramos is easily one of the best cleansers in the game, specifically because he doesn't have to think about it, he just does it, and it's never on cooldown. And you're going to need that for the boss. So this ability right here allows him to cleanse. What you're specifically looking to take care of is on Giants B10, they will have an armor break that lands on all of your monsters. If the giant hits you while that armor break is on, you're in deep trouble. You're trying to avoid that. So what are you trying to cover here? Well, there's a few positions you're trying to cover. First off, Bernard gives you someone who helps increase the speed. Bella is going to be your armor breaker, the stripper, and the healer, all in one. Now, in order for her to effectively do this job, her speed is going to have to be very fast. If she's on Violent, you could have her be somewhere near 200-ish, 180 maybe, but she needs to be above 200 with certainty if you have her on Swift. So if she's on Swift, which she will be since you're not doing Dragons yet, You need to get her above 200. Same thing for Veramos, by the way, and same thing for Bernard. You'll notice a trend with speed on these monsters. Speed is very much king for this game, so you want to make sure you have a lot of it. Darien functions in his own capacity. He does not need to be as fast. One of the nice things about Darien is that his main reason you have him is for this right here, where he simply reduces damage done to all of your monsters across the board. He can also function as a backup for attack break and armor break. And he functions off of max HP, which is really nice. Shannon, the Wind Pixie, nope, just lost her here. So Shannon, the Wind Pixie, has 3 different things that she does that are very useful for you. One is that she increases attack power and defense, so a buffer. You have someone who slows attack, and someone who gives glancing. So as you can see, all of these monsters have multiple roles. Oh, and by the way, Bernard isn't just for speed and attack bar increase. He also has a second attack that also reduces attack power and defense. All of these are going to be very useful against the boss. So let's see how something like this goes into action. You're generally going to want to have your Veramos and your Bella going first. Not including Bernard, obviously. Bernard is always going to be the fastest. Get however much speed you can on him. And then from there, you're just going to take them down a little bit at a time. So this is going to be an initial team. They don't move very quickly. So generally speaking, you're going to have slow runs at the beginning. So farming isn't going to be super fast, and that's perfectly fine. Just being able to get Giants B10 done is huge, because that's going to give you a much better shot at getting 6-star runes. Plus, with the recent update, you are guaranteed to get a minimum of a 5-star rune. 4-star runes no longer drop in Giants B10, or in any B10 for that matter. So it's very recommended that you do it. So as you can see, everyone here is kind of doing their own thing. You have them being slowed by Shannon. You have the armor break going down from Bella. You also have armor breaks from both Bernard and Darien. They're all taking reduced damage, and any amount of debuffs that are put on them, not including inability effects like stun or sleep, are being removed by Veramos. So as you can see, he won't take inability effects off. That's fine though, it's not a big deal. So these are going to be your best monsters to farm. I would suggest taking a look at these. So let's go ahead and speed up to the boss. So here we are at the boss, and there's a couple things that you should always know about the boss. There's one mechanic that is unique to Giants, and that's this one right here called Fend Off, where every 7 attacks he's going to hit someone. This means that no matter what you do, regardless of how much you slow him or reduce his attack bar or do whatever you can to stop him from attacking, he's still going to get this attack off every 7 attacks. Well, that means that the stronger you are, the more your team can take a hit, the better off. So that's why you go for so much protection on him, on your team, to start off with. Your runes aren't going to be good enough. The other attacks are pretty basic, right? He's going to cause an earthquake, he's going to hit everyone, he's going to reduce attack speed. This one's going to in general hurt, especially if he gets off a Fend Off and then hits with Great Earthquake. Or for that matter, Rock Slide if he happens to do it on the same target. Actually, it looks like this one targets all of them. Sorry, that was my bad. So yeah, if he gets off this Fend Off and then hits with that, someone's probably going to die. And that's going to happen from time to time. You should expect that. The other thing you have to pay attention to is the 2 crystals give a buff and a debuff. A buff to the boss in the form of giving him an attack power boost. A debuff in the fact that they weaken your defense. So this is why you want a cleanser and a stripper. Also, in this case, you're going to find that having the attack break helps offset that. And the glance from Shannon is going to help as well. So here we go. He has glance and he has attack break. And I have the knighthood passive from Darien. So as you can see, he's not going to hurt anyone on this team. it is going to be very difficult for him. And now you're going to have times that are going to look a little bit slower in this, but that's perfectly fine. Not a big deal. You also should remember that my runes are going to be much better than yours if you're just starting out. So, there we go. Boss down. Takes about 4 minutes and 29 seconds for a decently runed team to get through there. I would expect that a starting team will be a little over 5 minutes. So let's take a look at the runes that are on these monsters. So, Bella and Vero are very much used in dragons and, actually I've started to take them out of giants, but they were for a very long time heavily used by me. So I ended up taking out, so their runes are significantly better, but generally speaking, for any monster that's not a wind monster and not a fire monster, you want to make sure that they're somewhere around 20,000 hit points. 18,000 is kind of a minimum. Defense somewhere around 800 to 900, and like I said, for all of these monsters of Bernard, Bella, Vero, you want to make sure they're getting up around 200 or more, especially if you're using a Swift set. I am using Violent, which makes it even better that I'm above 200, but if you're on Swift, you very much want to be at 200. The cap for accuracy is only 45%. In Giants. That's the most you're going to get out of it. Now, there might be other times when you want to increase it. PvP, obviously, that 100% mark starts to be a little more important. Actually, it's more like 85%. And in Dragons and Necro, you want 55%. But if we're just talking about how do you rune for Giants, 45% is the most you'll ever need. Resistance isn't going to be too big of a deal. If you can get some extra, it'd be nice, but otherwise, not worried about it, because you should be cleansing this stuff off anyways. And it's only one debuff. Bear in mind. I did stack speed too, but that's fine. So yeah. So all of these monsters, and you saw how well they did. I want to show you something real quick. This team is so durable that Shannon, who has garbage runes because she's no longer regularly in use by me, still at 12,000 health had no problem surviving. And 600-ish, 670 defense, and very low speed. Her accuracy is not capped, so I completely dragged her along, and she still did fine. Wind obviously gets a bit more of a pass since water is the main thing in Giants B10. So, step 2 is what monsters can I replace with? Well, I have a couple that I personally use. So if we're talking about an advanced team, I actually use a Lucian for my main. I use a Chasoon as a general healer, a Galleon to armor break, and then, where did everything go? I keep the Bernard because Bernard's speed is very useful, and the attack break is very useful, and then I run a Theomars. And that run looks a little bit like this. Okay, so that, as you can see, is going to be a little bit of a faster run, 1:46. Now, I don't have what I would consider to be a speed team, but it's a reliable, quick team, sub 2 minutes. I'm okay with that for now. I'm still not a late game player myself. But this is my normal team I run. So you start to play around with jobs that you want to replace. Generally speaking, the first thing you can start to replace is Darien. Darien does not serve as important of a function as anyone else does, for that matter. Another person you can replace, if you want to, is using Megan for Shannon. Now, Shannon is the optimal unit here. However, if you're getting ready to move into Dragons, having one buffer, having your best runes for that monster, might be easier for you early on. So, if you want to replace with Megan, you can. Generally speaking, you want to have at least a couple categories covered. First off, you want to have someone who can cleanse most of the time, unless you can kill them really quickly. You want to have some sort of attack breaker or defense buffer. Okay, someone who can help mitigate the damage you're going to get hit with. An armor breaker is very useful, and if the fight is going to go more than a minute or two, you generally want some sort of healer in there as well. Everything else is something you want to start playing around with, and you can play around with different categories as you want. Just make sure that you have a buffer early on when your runes aren't great, a cleanser, so if you don't have Veramos, for instance, and you're still working on them, an excellent replacement is Konamiya. Konamiya can do that job because she has a very good cleanse. And she can do a couple other interesting things. Her stun isn't going to be as helpful for you on the boss itself, but leading up could be helpful. And then the resurge helps your monsters be able to get more turns. Always very useful. One of the earliest monsters that I used to replace Darien was Orochi. He's kind of, these are all placeholder runes, so don't worry about that. But essentially, you want to make sure he has a high crit rate and a high accuracy. Specifically for this ability right here. And he has to specifically do, he has to land a critical hit, and he needs accuracy in order for everything to land correctly. So yeah, he's a good option as well, and so basically in that case you're using continuous damage to bring the boss down. So, you know, your options are varied. You can kind of go with whatever you want. Just make sure you fill those roles. But your main team that you can farm and shoot for is going to be these guys right here. And I generally run Veramos as the lead. So those are the 3 or 5 to shoot for. So runing, how do you want to rune? Well, like I said, you want to shoot for about 18,000 to 20,000 for anyone who isn't wind. For anyone who is wind, you can go with, 15, 16 does fine. But as you could see, Shannon lasted more than enough time making sure she had all the buffs and everything up. But Shannon will eventually get killed at that kind of low level, so try to shoot for like 14, 15,000 on her. Speed is always integral, so any swift units you have, you want to try to go over 200. The only one who you can let slip by that is any attackers you might have. But like I said, if you're using this, you don't really have any attackers. It's a team of support monsters that really all just kind of boost each other up and do just enough to be able to kill the boss. He doesn't have a lot of health, he just hits really hard. So, runes are going to be kind of what you want, but Shannon, I generally went with Despair because she can be used in TOA early on. Swift on Bernard. Darien is kind of easy. If you want to just go all energy to begin with, you can do that. If you need help with healing, one of the things you can use is Light Bearman. With him, you want to get 100% crit rate, so that he can help heal. He also has a secret dungeon on Sunday. Bella, as soon as you can get her over to Violent, actually, as soon as you can get Vero over to Violent, the better. He cleanses so much faster that way. So getting him over to Violent, but only do that if you can get him to about 200 speed. If not, stick with Swift and keep him well above 200. So other than that, that's going to be a good start for you to be able to get started in Giants. So as you can tell, it's a team devoted towards wind and some water. You're going to have a hard time in B9. It's fine. Crystal res through that. Get through it. Do whatever you have to and get to B10. Because by the time you're clearing B8, you shouldn't have much of a problem with B10, assuming you have a mostly wind team, or at least a couple units on wind. So that's going to be about it for this, guys. I just want to make sure give you a little bit of a guide on how to get started. I know I hear that question a lot on how do I get to the point where I'm ready for B10. Those are the monsters you want to try to get a hold of. If you do have any other questions below, ask them down below. I'll be happy to try to answer those for you. But otherwise, thank you for watching, and you enjoy the rest of your day. Bye.